All right, everyone, we are here with another off-season war. Today I will be taking in Magneto, Mr. Negative, and Sorcerer Supreme. I'll be taking Path 7 in Section 1 and Path 7 in Section 2, just testing out some of Sorcerer's abilities and playing around with Mr. Negative and Magneto this war. Path 7, first node here, Super Skrull. This was something I wanted to test out. I believe I do it without a PS1. We'll go ahead and see here in the boosts. But this node has kinetic transference, and I wanted to see how effective getting slow up would be and how much he would feed Mystic Dispersion. Super Skrull and I believe Civil Warrior will probably be two of the most problematic champions this season, depending on node placement and bans. So I just wanted to test it here, and I do use a PS1 so that we can get this slow out early and the nullification aura up. And what we're going to do here is just basically play and take advantage of the slow up time to build to SP3, and then once we get there, we're going to wait for Ingenuity. And we could parry heavy here. I'm just choosing not to. I'd rather not give him any additional buffs at the risk of going unstoppable, and unfortunately I got caught in a dash back there. No big deal though. Going right into this SP3, and in Ingenuity it's going to let us permanently store a slow rune, which is going to allow us to constantly place slow when we fire special attacks. So he's slowed now we don't have to worry about unstoppable. We just have to be mindful he is stun immune during that unstoppable, so when we see it, just playing safe. And then the nice thing about Sorcerer Supreme, just like Manthing or Mojo, if you play them consistently with 5 Mystic Dispersion, it's just a special off. You're literally throwing whichever special attack you want, and in most cases you're right back to either the lowest special one or right back to that special attack, depending on how many buffs the champion node have. Unfortunate SB1 there while he had miss activated, but we got pushed to another special 3 at 1%, so no big deal. So easy peasy for Sorcerer. I can tell she's going to be a good rank up for this season, specifically just for matchups like this. She may not work as well against Civil Warrior just because we're not going to get that nullify due to his nullify immunity and stagger immunity. However, those armor ups do expire eventually, so they feed MD when they expire. So it'll probably just be slower fights. Here, Magneto on Brute Force versus Peni without a white Magneto pre-fight. Not that it would help Magneto anyways. So my basic game plan was parry heavy here. It doesn't look like the Brute Force is adjusted for the fact that Magneto ignores class disadvantage. It's hard for me to tell. Obviously, I'd have to come in here with a mutant and then come in here without a cosmic to see where that damage actually lies. But it felt like more brute force damage than it was supposed to be. Anyways, we're doing just parry heavy until we build to SP3, baiting out SP1s. Got to be mindful of the power burn. I think the last heavy I do before I try to SP3 doesn't power burn me, but I didn't gain much power, and I think it's right here. Nope, it's the next one. And unfortunately, I didn't get to SP3, so I started charging a heavy, thinking I was at SP3, and I'm only at SP2, so I'm just going to throw it. Luckily, she can't auto-block it, so she just gets whacked in the face. We just got fortunate. We were lucky that she didn't throw SB1 at a distance. Moving on again, something that I'm probably consistently testing all off-season is Mr. Negative's matchup against Power Snack, depending on who's here. So we saw a Man-Thing, and it was another kind of like a common takedown for Mr. Negative. So I'm going in here this time without a PS1 to see how the fight flows. Obviously, I'm very much used to using a PS1, and if I ever have a PS1 in an in-season war, I'm definitely going to use it. But in the off-season, it's good practice to get used to the longer ramp up to SB2. So we parry heavied a few times at the start, used his SB1 to build a few more buffs, didn't go over the 10, converted it to light. We cannot evade counter an unstoppable champ, so we are not evade countering when the unstoppable is active. Otherwise, we risk getting punched in the face. So the fight's going smooth. We got the SB2 off with more than 10 dark energy. He's melting here. Now we're just playing pretty much normal. Really from here on, it's just laying on additional damage until he goes down, which is why I threw an SB1 here. We're not going to have enough time to build the SB2 this next go round. So with the fight being over, it just makes more sense throwing SB1. All right, this was the next morning. Not as awake, not as sharp. Haven't been playing Arena before this fight, so a lot of times when that happens, I miss a few parries. So the game plan with this was to parry attack, not parry heavy. I don't want to knock him down for Rise to Power. Can't use Magneto here because he's immune to ability accuracy reduction. So even though I get Magneto's benefit of Magnetize, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Come in heavy, ole, and got hit. Anyways, can't use Magneto here, so we went with Mr. Negative. Spite is a good node for him. You can shut down any buff that's on you. Game plan here was really to bait out his SB1s and try to make sure we're converting light energy before it reaches 10. And hopefully, so I'm going to convert it here. I didn't want to parry again, and I didn't want to trigger dexterity buff. I didn't want it to expire. However, we made it to SB2, so I probably could have done that. I did not want to, look at this smooth, heavy counter there. Anyways, that was perfect. Built up to SB2. Now we're just letting him melt. Got tagged by the last hit of that beam. Unfortunate, but he goes down anyways. So definitely a good counter. Don't want to push Mysterio to SB2. That's just going to lead to power drain, and we're not going to be able to throw SB2 with 10 dark energy. Doom here. We're going to parry heavy twice before he gets SB1. Then we're going to bait SB1. Then we're going to evade counter. So start of the fight kind of rocky. Didn't get an early parry. Here we are at 6 light energy. We're going to block bait heavy. Now we're going to combo. We're going to bait SB1. Here it is. Aura is up. So we're really just going to build light energy, but hopefully not give him any power. And unfortunately, just like most mornings, not dexing out of attacks very well, ends up putting another aura up, which isn't a problem if you keep pushing him back by hitting into his block here. So luckily I was at least awake enough to do that so that we don't get cornered. Now we wasted time on his aura and it's gone. Now we're at SB2 right about here, and now we're going to drop it. Evade counter. Nope, we're just going to drop SB2. And now with him at his SB2, we're going to block and let him lose some power as he dies. So pretty smart, not worrying about having to block SB2. We're just going to go ahead and make him lose power with the double petrify up. Moving on, decided to go ahead and clean up this Mojo. Now, Mr. Negative against the Mystic on Stunning Reflection is actually quite awesome in questing. You have easy openings as long as you can build buffs and convert to light energy. But in war, of course, with how many times you're probably going to evade counter a node like this, it's bad because of unfazed, and you don't want to give the AI that many opportunities to whack you in the face. So I was actually trying to trigger accidental stun there. I was actually trying to trigger degen on purpose because as long as Mojo isn't the boss, you can actually recover or heal back a lot of the regen damage you take against Mojo and with a max sig, Mr. Negative. So I don't even think he has to be max sig, but I mentioned max sig because mine is. So you're gonna see a couple times where I just dex, here, the SB2, I dex and I go in anyways so that I get this degen buff so that I can regen back some health. But basically there's not really a strategy here. I'm not gonna build power. We're really just using the evade counter for easy openings. So we're just being mindful of when we have light energy and when we can evade counter for an opening, and then the evade counter, and then we do a full combo. And then we back out, and of course we do all of this while trying not to stun. So this is a fun fight to do outside of war. The risk here, again, is just if he has unfazed. You see there I triggered the prompt on purpose so that I could get a degen debuff, or passive. But just evade countering combo, there's nothing special about this fight. All right, and then cleaning up a Modok Boss. I was really hoping to get a full health Modok with Magneto, and I didn't say anything. I didn't want to Didn't want to make people wait, and I end up being busy since it's an off-season war. But, I mean, the game plan here is pretty simple. I'm not using Counterpunch like I do with Killmonger, because Magneto doesn't have Counterpunch. If anything, I'm block baiting heavies or hitting into his block to bait out heavies, and the fact that Magneto can't be auto-blocked versus metal means I have all the time in the world to do a full 5-hit combo. So really, this is a super safe fight as long as you can dodge a SB1, which can be said for any of my Killmonger fights. And you see there I got tagged. Blocked the first hit and then ate the other two. And the reason this probably wasn't a good idea in season was because of high ground. There was no guarantee that I was going to be able to string combos constantly like I can with Killmonger. So high ground can easily build up if Modok decides to turtle on any of his special attacks. And I'm saying SB1 because this is not a parry heavy fight, and there's not really any room to retaliate special attacks with heavies. So it makes it difficult to build prowess. So we're really just taking advantage of bleed damage and the shrapnel detonate, and the fact that his SB1 is super easy, or not super easy, but is retaliatable, if that's a word. So yeah, really would have enjoyed taking a full health Modok, especially since this Modok didn't have suicides. Would have been fun, but you get the gist of it. Punch him in the face till SB1. You'll see here I stopped kind of blocking and I'm trying to intercept off the wall, or I'm trying to hit into his block to get him to throw a heavy. So if you see me tag him a couple times when he's blocking against the wall, it's in the hopes that he throws a heavy, but sometimes I'm getting some intercepts in too. And this here should do it. Down he goes. So that was an off-season war. It was fun. Good practice. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hit subscribe, like, follow, and share, and I will catch you guys at the next one.